In a tense international debate in Spain, a nun publicly mocked the Islamic Hajj, calling it meaningless. A young Muslim man stood up, challenged her with questions she couldn't answer, and shared truths that shook her faith to its core. What happened next left thousands speechless and changed her life forever. Stay tuned to discover how courage, knowledge, and an open heart can turn insults into moments of profound transformation. The Grand Hall in Madrid buzzed with anticipation as an international religious debate was about to unfold. The audience, composed of people from various faiths and backgrounds, sat in hushed silence, their eyes fixed on the stage where two opposing figures stood ready to engage in a dialogue that could change perspectives forever. Among them was Sister Maria, a devout Catholic nun known for her fervent defense of Christianity. Her presence radiated conviction, but it also carried an air of rigidity, a belief system she had never questioned deeply. Across from her was Ahmad, a young Muslim man whose calm demeanor masked the storm brewing inside him. He wasn't just any participant. He was someone who had faced discrimination and misunderstanding because of his faith. As the moderator introduced the topic, the atmosphere grew electric. When Sister Maria began speaking, her voice resonated through the room like a bell tolling at dawn. "Why do Muslims worship a black stone?" she asked, her tone dripping with skepticism. "Isn't the Hajj merely a ritualistic act without deeper meaning? A pilgrimage to a building cannot possibly connect one to God." Her words struck a nerve in the hearts of many Muslims present, including Ahmad. His chest tightened as anger surged within him, not out of hatred, but from the pain of seeing something sacred being misunderstood and dismissed so casually. For Ahmad, the Hajj wasn't just a journey. It was a profound spiritual experience, a symbol of unity, humility, and devotion. To hear it reduced to mere ritualism felt like a dagger piercing his soul. Ahmad's hands clenched into fists under the table, but he forced himself to breathe deeply. He remembered the teachings of his faith. Patience and wisdom were key in moments like these. Yet, the insult lingered, gnawing at his resolve. How could someone claim to seek truth while dismissing centuries of tradition rooted in love and submission to God? Tears pricked at the corners of his eyes as memories flooded back. The first time he learned about the Kaaba, the awe-inspiring stories of Abraham and Ishmael building the house of Allah, the countless pilgrims circumambulating the sacred structure, united in purpose despite their differences. All this richness boiled down to nothing more than a black stone in Sister Maria's eyes. As the applause following her statement faded, Ahmad felt a surge of determination rise within him. This wasn't just about defending his faith anymore. It was about bridging gaps, fostering understanding, and proving that even amidst conflict, truth could prevail. With trembling hands, he raised his arm, signaling his desire to speak. The moderator nodded toward him, giving him the floor. In that moment, all eyes turned to Ahmad, waiting to see how he would respond to Sister Maria's bold claims. What followed would be a turning point not only for the debate, but also for the lives of those involved. Standing up slowly, Ahmad took a deep breath before addressing Sister Maria directly. His voice, though steady, carried the weight of emotion behind each word. "Sister Maria," he began, choosing his words carefully, "if you truly believe what you've said, that the Hajj is meaningless and our faith lacks substance, then I challenge you to explain your arguments logically. Let us examine both sides of the issue openly, honestly, and respectfully." There was no malice in his tone, only a quiet confidence born from years of studying his own faith and engaging with others. The room fell silent, except for the faint hum of fans circulating cool air throughout the auditorium. Many leaned forward in their seats, intrigued by the sudden shift in dynamics. Here was a young man, barely older than 25, daring to challenge a seasoned nun twice his age. It seemed almost audacious. Yet there was something compelling about Ahmad's composure. Despite the gravity of the situation, he exuded calmness, as if the world around him had slowed to a crawl. Every heartbeat echoed louder in his ears, every breath drawing strength from the lessons he'd learned over the years. Sister Maria hesitated for only a second, but that brief pause spoke volumes. Perhaps she hadn't expected such a direct response, or perhaps she realized the magnitude of the challenge ahead. Nevertheless, she accepted it without reservation. "Very well," she replied, straightening her posture and adjusting her veil. "Let us begin." The moderator intervened briefly to establish ground rules for the discussion, emphasizing mutual respect and open-mindedness. Once the guidelines were set, the stage belonged entirely to Ahmad and Sister Maria. As they prepared to delve into their respective viewpoints, the audience braced themselves for what promised to be a fiery exchange. But little did anyone know that this confrontation would transcend mere argumentation. It would become a journey of self-discovery for both participants. For Ahmad, the stakes couldn't have been higher. This wasn't just about winning or losing a debate. It was about reclaiming dignity for his faith, showing the world that Islam wasn't defined by stereotypes or misinterpretations. At the same time, he understood that attacking Sister Maria wouldn't serve his cause. Instead, he needed to approach her with empathy, acknowledging her perspective while gently guiding her toward greater understanding. And so, with renewed focus, Ahmad prepared to meet her head-on, ready to defend his beliefs with reason, passion, and grace. Without further ado, Sister Maria launched into her first question, her voice firm and unyielding. "Ahmad, prove to me that the God of Islam exists. If he is real, show him to me right now." Her demand hung heavy in the air, challenging not just Ahmad's intellect, but also his very faith. Gasps rippled through the crowd as some whispered prayers, others exchanged glances filled with apprehension. Could Ahmad really provide evidence for something so intangible? Taking a moment to gather his thoughts, Ahmad responded with a gentle smile, his voice soft yet resolute. "Dear Sister Maria, let me clarify something important. Our Creator, Allah, is beyond human comprehension. He transcends space and time, existing outside the confines of our physical senses. Therefore, expecting to see him with mortal eyes is impossible. However, his existence is undeniable when we look at the world around us." He paused briefly, allowing his words to sink in before continuing. "Consider the vastness of the universe, the stars, galaxies, planets, all moving in perfect harmony according to laws we barely understand. Is it not reasonable to conclude that such intricate design must stem from an intelligent designer?" In Surah Ar-Ra'd, verse 14, the Quran states, "And in the heavens is your sustenance and what you are promised." These words remind us that everything we need comes from Allah's infinite mercy and wisdom. A ripple of murmurs swept across the audience as listeners absorbed Ahmad's explanation. Some nodded thoughtfully, recognizing the logic behind his argument, while others remained skeptical, waiting for further clarification. Undeterred, Sister Maria pressed on with her next question. "Then why do Muslims perform Hajj? Isn't it essentially bowing down to a piece of stone?" Ahmad's expression softened, revealing a deep sense of reverence as he addressed her concern. "Sister Maria, the Kaaba is far more than a mere structure. It represents the essence of monotheism, the belief in one God. Built by Prophet Abraham and his son Ishmael, it stands as a testament to their unwavering commitment to divine guidance. When Muslims perform Hajj, they aren't worshipping the Kaaba itself. They're honoring the principles it embodies: unity, humility, and surrender to Allah." Quoting from Surah Ali Imran, verse 96, he added, "And we commanded Abraham, dedicate this house for those who will remain pious." Through Hajj, believers from every corner of the globe come together, shedding distinctions of race, wealth, and status. They stand shoulder to shoulder, reminding one another and themselves of the ultimate truth, that we are all equal before God. By now, even Sister Maria appeared moved, her initial skepticism softening slightly. Though she still harbored doubts, her curiosity had been sparked, prompting her to listen more intently than before. Meanwhile, the audience erupted into applause, inspired by Ahmad's eloquence and sincerity. Each word he spoke seemed to carry the weight of centuries, of tradition, bridging gaps between cultures and religions in ways few dared to attempt. Having answered Sister Maria's questions with clarity and conviction, Ahmad seized the opportunity to pose his own inquiries. Leaning slightly forward, he locked eyes with her, his voice carrying a note of genuine curiosity. "Sister Maria, allow me to ask you something. If proof is essential for belief, can you physically show Jesus to me here and now? Or does your faith rely on scripture and tradition, much like mine?" Her brow furrowed momentarily as she processed his query. After a brief hesitation, she admitted, "Yes, my faith relies on the Bible and the teachings of the Church. I cannot produce Jesus in tangible form." A murmur of approval rippled through the crowd as Ahmad nodded appreciatively, acknowledging her honesty. "Exactly," he continued, his tone warm and inviting. "Faith, whether in Islam or Christianity, often stems from trust in divine revelation, rather than empirical evidence. So why should we judge one another based on differing interpretations of the same fundamental truths?" This line of reasoning visibly unsettled Sister Maria, forcing her to reconsider her earlier assertions. Before she could respond, Ahmad pressed on with another question. "Tell me, Sister Maria, why did Jesus die? Who crucified him?" She opened her mouth to reply but faltered, realizing the complexity of the subject. Finally, she managed, "Jesus died to redeem humanity's sins, to offer salvation through his sacrifice." Her answer came out somewhat uncertain, betraying the depth of her internal struggle. Ahmad seized this moment, responding gently yet firmly. "If Jesus is indeed God, how could he be subjected to death by mere mortals? Doesn't this contradict the concept of divinity? Furthermore, nowhere in the Bible does Jesus explicitly claim to be God himself. Rather, he refers to himself as the Son of Man, emphasizing his role as a prophet and servant of God." At this point, Sister Maria fell silent, visibly grappling with the implications of Ahmad's words. Tears welled up in her eyes as realization dawned upon her, the possibility that her lifelong beliefs might require reevaluation. Around her, the audience watched in rapt attention, sensing the transformative power of the conversation unfolding before them. For Ahmad, this was the culmination of years spent nurturing his faith, studying its tenets, and learning to articulate them with compassion and understanding. And for Sister Maria, it marked the beginning of a journey toward truth, one that would ultimately lead her to make a life-altering decision. The hall was eerily silent as Sister Maria sat back in her chair, her hands trembling slightly. The weight of Ahmad's words pressed heavily upon her heart, stirring emotions she had long suppressed beneath layers of doctrine and tradition. For years, she had preached the gospel with unwavering certainty, never questioning the teachings that had shaped her life. But now, faced with arguments rooted in logic, scripture, and an undeniable sincerity, she found herself adrift in a sea of uncertainty. Her mind raced as fragments of memories surfaced, childhood Sundays spent listening to sermons about love and forgiveness, late-night studies of the Bible, and countless prayers offered in quiet moments of solitude. Yet, none of those experiences prepared her for this moment when her faith seemed to falter under scrutiny. She thought about Jesus, the central figure of her devotion, and how his message had always been one of humility and service. Could it be possible that her understanding of him was incomplete? That perhaps he wasn't the divine being she had believed him to be, but instead a prophet sent by God to guide humanity? Tears streamed down her face as these thoughts coalesced into a storm within her soul. Her chest tightened with the realization that everything she thought she knew might need reevaluation. In front of hundreds of people, including her fellow Catholics, she felt exposed, not because of shame or embarrassment, but because of vulnerability. Vulnerability born from honesty, from confronting truths she had avoided for so long. "Sister." Maria took a deep breath, her voice barely audible above the soft hum of the audience. I don't know the answers to your questions," she admitted, her words laced with both pain and relief. "For so many years, I've relied on what I was taught without truly examining its foundations. I believed because it was expected of me, because it gave me purpose and belonging. But now, I see that my faith has been built on assumptions rather than knowledge." Her confession hung in the air like a benediction, resonating deeply with those who listened. Some wiped away their own tears, moved by her courage to admit ignorance in the face of overwhelming evidence. Others leaned forward, captivated by the raw authenticity of her admission. It wasn't weakness that made her speak. It was strength, the kind that comes from acknowledging limitations and seeking truth, even if it means dismantling cherished beliefs. Ahmad watched her intently, his heart swelling with compassion. He saw not an adversary but a fellow human being grappling with the same questions he had once wrestled with himself. Without hesitation, he extended a hand across the table, offering solidarity rather than triumph. "Sister Maria," he said. Softly, faith is not static. It grows, evolves, and sometimes transforms entirely. What matters most is the journey we take toward understanding. Days turned into weeks after the debate, and Sister Maria immersed herself in study like never before. She pored over scriptures, comparing passages from the Bible with verses from the Quran. Each revelation brought new insights, challenging her preconceived notions while simultaneously filling gaps left unanswered by traditional Christian theology. The more she read, the clearer it became. The God of Islam and the God of Christianity were one and the same, a merciful creator whose message transcended cultural and denominational boundaries. One evening, as twilight painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, Sister Maria stood before a small gathering at the local mosque where Ahmad often prayed. Her decision weighed heavily on her shoulders, yet her resolve remained unshaken. Clutching a copy of the Quran tightly to her chest, she addressed the imam and the congregation with a voice steady despite the torrent of emotions coursing through her veins. "I have come here today to declare my intention to embrace Islam," she began, her words deliberate and measured. Gasps rippled through the room as disbelief gave way to awe. Here was a woman who had devoted her entire life to Christianity, now choosing to align herself with another faith, one she had previously criticized out of ignorance. Tears flowed freely as she continued. "In the days following our debate, I embarked on a journey of self-discovery. I learned that true faith isn't bound by rituals or dogma, but by a genuine connection with the divine. Through the teachings of the Quran, I found answers to questions that had haunted me for years. I discovered a God who is compassionate, forgiving and just, a God who calls us to unity and peace." The imam approached her, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Welcome, sister," he said warmly, his eyes shining with pride and joy. Around them, members of the congregation embraced her, welcoming her into their fold with open arms and hearts. For the first time in her life, Sister Maria felt a profound sense of belonging, not because of titles or traditions, but because of shared belief in the one true God. As news of her conversion spread, reactions varied widely. Some praised her bravery, seeing her decision as proof that truth can overcome prejudice. Others criticized her, accusing her of betrayal. But Sister Maria paid little heed to external opinions. Her focus lay solely on her newfound relationship with Allah, a bond forged through humility, reflection, and unwavering conviction. Months passed, and Sister Maria adjusted to her new identity as a Muslim convert. Though the transition wasn't without challenges, she approached each obstacle with grace and determination. Learning Arabic proved difficult at first, but with patience and practice, she mastered enough to recite prayers fluently. Dressing modestly required adapting to societal norms unfamiliar to her, yet she embraced the hijab as a symbol of her inner transformation. Most importantly, she dedicated herself to spreading awareness about interfaith dialogue, using her unique position as a former nun to bridge divides between communities. Her story inspired countless others to question their own beliefs and seek deeper understanding. People from all walks of life reached out to her, sharing their struggles and hopes. In response, she founded a center for interfaith education, inviting scholars, clergy, and lay people alike to engage in respectful conversations about spirituality and coexistence. Through workshops, lectures, and personal mentoring, she helped dismantle stereotypes and foster mutual respect among diverse groups. Amidst these efforts, Ahmad remained a constant source of support and encouragement. Their friendship blossomed into something akin to siblinghood, marked by laughter, debates, and heartfelt discussions about life's complexities. Together, they traveled to various countries, participating in conferences and forums aimed at promoting peace and harmony. Wherever they went, they left behind ripples of hope, reminding people that differences needn't divide us. They could unite us if approached with empathy and openness. Yet, despite their successes, both acknowledged the road ahead would remain fraught with challenges. Prejudice, misunderstanding, and resistance lingered in pockets around the world, demanding vigilance and perseverance. Still, they refused to let fear dictate their actions. Instead, they chose courage, believing firmly that even the smallest acts of kindness could spark monumental changes. On one particularly memorable occasion, during a visit to a refugee camp in Syria, Sister Maria knelt beside a young girl, clutching a tattered Quran. As she gently touched the child's forehead in blessing, she whispered a prayer for strength and resilience. Tears filled her eyes as she realized how far she had come, from defending doctrines she barely understood to becoming a beacon of hope for those suffering amidst chaos. This moment encapsulated her journey perfectly, one of redemption, growth, and unwavering faith. Reflecting on the events that unfolded since that fateful day in Madrid, Ahmad marveled at the transformative power of dialogue. What started as a heated debate ended as a testament to the universal quest for truth, a reminder that no single person holds all the answers, but together we can illuminate paths leading to greater understanding. He often recounted the experience to audiences worldwide, emphasizing 3 key lessons he gleaned from the encounter. First, patience is paramount. In times of conflict, reacting impulsively rarely yields positive results. By exercising restraint and approaching situations with calmness, one creates space for meaningful exchanges. Second, knowledge empowers. Armed with facts derived from credible sources, individuals can counter misinformation effectively while fostering respect for differing perspectives. Lastly, compassion bridges divides. Empathy allows us to see beyond surface-level disagreements, revealing shared humanity beneath apparent disparities. These principles guided Ahmad throughout his life, shaping him into a global advocate for interfaith harmony. Alongside Sister Maria, now known affectionately as Yusuf, mother of Joseph, he worked tirelessly to dismantle barriers separating people of different faiths. Their partnership exemplified the beauty of collaboration, proving that unity doesn't require uniformity. It thrives on diversity, celebrated through mutual appreciation. As the years rolled on, their legacy grew, touching lives across continents. Stories emerged of converts inspired by their example, friendships formed between erstwhile adversaries, and communities coming together in solidarity against adversity. Yet, neither sought recognition nor reward for their endeavors. For them, the greatest satisfaction came from witnessing hearts soften and minds expand, paving the way for a brighter future rooted in tolerance and cooperation. And so, as they stood side by side one final time, addressing a packed auditorium filled with eager listeners, Ahmad concluded with words that echoed through time. Truth seeks not victory, but reconciliation. Let us walk this path together, hand in hand, knowing that every step brings us closer to the ultimate goal: peace. With that, he smiled at Sister Maria, who returned the gesture, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Together, they bowed, leaving behind a room full of inspired souls ready to carry their message forward.